Most people think eggs are either good or bad, safe or dangerous, heart healthy or harmful. But the truth is far more unsettling because eggs don't quietly harm you on their own. The way you prepare them determines whether they protect your body or slowly work against it. And this matters more than ever as you age because after 50, the body becomes far less forgiving to inflammatory stress, oxidized fats, and metabolic overload. And what once caused no noticeable damage can now accelerate silent processes like arterial stiffness, insulin resistance, and chronic low-grade inflammation that chips away at health year after year. An egg in its natural state is a near-perfect food containing complete protein, choline essential for memory and nerve signaling, lutein and zeaxanthin that protect aging eyes from macular degeneration, and fat-soluble vitamins that support hormones and immunity. But the moment that egg hits a scorching pan coated in unstable industrial oils, its chemistry begins to change in ways most people never see and never feel until the damage is already done. Research has shown that vegetable oils high in omega-6 polyunsaturated fats, such as soybean, corn, and sunflower oil, oxidize rapidly under heat, producing toxic byproducts like aldehydes and lipid peroxides that are directly linked to inflammation, endothelial dysfunction, and increased cardiovascular risk. And when these compounds bind to proteins in eggs during high heat cooking, they create advanced lipid oxidation end products that the aging body struggles to neutralize. This is not theory. Oxidative stress markers rise measurably after meals cooked in overheated seed oils, and chronic exposure has been associated with increased LDL oxidation, a key driver of plaque formation that doesn't show up on a standard cholesterol test until it's too late. Seniors are especially vulnerable because antioxidant defenses decline with age, meaning the same breakfast that a younger body might buffer can silently overwhelm older cells, increasing joint pain, brain fog, and fatigue without an obvious cause. Overcooking compounds the problem further because when eggs are cooked until the yolk is chalky and dry, sensitive nutrients like choline and carotenoids degrade, while the proteins become structurally altered, making them harder to digest and more likely to trigger gastrointestinal discomfort, bloating, or reduced amino acid absorption, a serious concern at a time in life when preserving muscle mass is critical for longevity and independence. What makes this particularly dangerous is that the damage doesn't feel dramatic. There's no immediate pain, no sudden illness, just a slow accumulation of inflammatory signals that the body quietly adapts to until one day blood sugar control worsens, arteries lose elasticity, or cognitive sharpness begins to slip. And the connection to something as ordinary as eggs cooked the wrong way is never made. Studies on dietary fats consistently show that replacing oxidized oils with stable fats like olive oil, butter, or ghee reduces inflammatory markers and improves lipid profiles. Yet many people still believe that light oils are safer simply because they were marketed that way for decades, despite being chemically unstable under heat. The shocking reality is that an egg cooked gently in a stable fat behaves like a completely different food inside the body than the same egg burned in an oxidized oil, triggering entirely different metabolic and inflammatory responses. Even the temperature matters, because high heat accelerates lipid oxidation exponentially, meaning that a sizzling pan doesn't just cook faster, it fundamentally alters the molecular structure of what you eat, turning nourishment into stress. For seniors, this matters because inflammation is no longer just an abstract concept. It's directly linked to arthritis progression, cognitive decline, cardiovascular disease, and loss of mobility. And diet is one of the few factors still fully within your control. What's rarely discussed is that eggs themselves are not the villain in these outcomes. In fact, populations that consume eggs prepared gently with traditional fats often show better nutrient status and no increase in heart disease risk, while problems emerge when modern cooking methods collide with industrial oils and excessive heat. This means that two people can eat eggs every morning for years and end up with dramatically different health trajectories, not because of genetics or luck, but because one unknowingly transformed a protective food into a daily inflammatory trigger. The tragedy is that this damage is preventable, and once you understand that preparation dictates biological impact, the fear surrounding eggs dissolves and is replaced with precision and intention. Cooking eggs slowly, keeping the yolk tender, and choosing fats that resist oxidation preserves the very compounds that make eggs valuable in the first place, allowing the body to use their nutrients for repair rather than damage control. The science is clear that food is not just calories, but information, sending signals that either calm or inflame the body. And for aging systems already under stress, those signals matter more than ever. When seniors unknowingly consume oxidized fats day after day, the body diverts resources away from healing and toward managing inflammation, accelerating the aging process at the cellular level. But when the same eggs are prepared with care, they become allies in maintaining muscle, protecting the brain, and supporting metabolic stability. The difference is invisible on the plate, but profound in the bloodstream, the joints, and the brain. And that is the unsettling truth most people never hear. Eggs don't harm you, but the wrong preparation can quietly sabotage your health, one breakfast at a time, while the right preparation can turn a simple meal into one of the most powerful tools for healthy aging. As we age, the most dangerous nutritional changes are not the ones we can see, but the ones happening quietly inside the body. Because after 50, the digestive system, enzyme production, and cellular absorption mechanisms begin to slow, and foods that once delivered full nutritional benefit can suddenly become far less effective, even when the diet looks healthy on the surface. Eggs are a perfect example of this hidden problem, because while they remain one of the richest natural sources of protein, choline, and fat-soluble vitamins, the aging body does not extract those nutrients as efficiently as it once did, and the way eggs are cooked can either compensate for that decline or dramatically worsen it. Scientific research shows that stomach acid production drops significantly with age, impairing protein breakdown and mineral absorption. And when eggs are overcooked, their proteins undergo structural changes that make them even harder to digest, meaning seniors may eat enough protein on paper but still suffer from muscle loss, weakness, and slower recovery because the amino acids never fully reach the bloodstream. This matters because age-related muscle loss, known as sarcopenia, is one of the strongest predictors of frailty, falls, and loss of independence, and inadequate protein absorption accelerates this process silently, long before visible muscle wasting appears. Overcooking eggs doesn't just affect protein. It damages choline, a nutrient so critical to brain health that low intake has been linked to memory impairment, faster cognitive decline, and increased risk of dementia. And studies show that heat sensitivity causes choline content to decrease as cooking time and temperature rise. This means that a senior eating hard-boiled or rubbery eggs every morning may believe they are supporting brain health, while in reality, they are receiving far less neurological protection than they think. The same is true for lutein and zeaxanthin, powerful antioxidants concentrated in egg yolks that protect the retina from oxidative damage and reduce the risk of age-related macular degeneration, the leading cause of blindness in older adults. Yet these compounds are highly sensitive to excessive heat, and overcooking can significantly reduce their bioavailability right when the eyes need them most. What makes this especially concerning is that vision loss often begins decades before symptoms are noticeable, and once retinal damage accumulates, it cannot be reversed, making nutrient preservation a matter of prevention rather than correction. Adding to the problem, many seniors eat eggs alone, without fiber or complementary nutrients, unaware that fiber plays a critical role in slowing digestion, stabilizing blood sugar, and improving cholesterol metabolism. And without it, even a high-quality protein meal can lead to glucose fluctuations and digestive strain. Research consistently shows that protein consumed without fiber leads to sharper post-meal blood sugar responses, which over time increase insulin resistance, a condition already affecting nearly half of adults over 60, often without a formal diagnosis. This creates a vicious cycle where poor absorption leads to nutrient deficiencies, while metabolic stress accelerates aging at the cellular level, increasing inflammation and oxidative damage. The shocking reality is that seniors may be eating nutrient-dense foods yet still be functionally malnourished, not because the food lacks value, but because preparation methods destroy fragile compounds and the aging digestive system cannot compensate. Even fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K, abundant in egg yolks, depend on gentle cooking and adequate dietary fat for absorption. And when eggs are overcooked or paired with low-fat meals, these vitamins pass through the body underutilized, weakening immune defenses, bone health, and hormonal balance. Vitamin D deficiency alone has been linked to increased fracture risk, immune dysfunction, and higher mortality in older adults, and eggs can contribute meaningfully to intake only when their structure is preserved. The body after 50 becomes far less resilient to nutritional inefficiencies, and small daily losses compound over years into significant functional decline, which is why preparation matters as much as food choice. Studies on nutrient bioavailability consistently demonstrate that softer cooking methods improve protein digestibility and micronutrient absorption, particularly in populations with reduced digestive capacity, yet this information rarely reaches the public. Instead, many seniors follow outdated advice to cook foods thoroughly, without realizing that excessive heat sacrifices the very nutrients they are trying to protect. What makes this so emotionally powerful is that the consequences are deeply personal. Slower walking speed, weaker grip strength, worsening memory, declining vision, and chronic fatigue are often accepted as normal aging, when in reality, they are partially driven by long-term nutrient shortfalls that could have been reduced with simple changes. The science is clear that food is not just about intake but utilization, and when nutrient absorption declines, every meal becomes an opportunity either to slow or accelerate aging. Eggs cooked gently with soft yolks and paired with fiber-rich vegetables are easier to digest, deliver more usable amino acids, and provide antioxidants in forms the aging body can actually absorb. In contrast, eggs cooked hard and eaten alone demand more digestive effort while delivering less nutritional return, creating a net loss over time. This is not about fear, but awareness, because once you understand that the aging body requires precision, rather than abundance, the way you approach food fundamentally changes. Seniors do not need more food, they need more bioavailable nutrition, and that starts with respecting how heat, structure, and digestion interact. The unsettling truth is that many age-related declines are not sudden failures, but the result of thousands of small inefficiencies repeated daily, and eggs, when prepared improperly, can become one of those invisible contributors. But prepared correctly, they remain one of the most powerful tools for preserving strength, clarity, and independence deep into later life, proving that aging well is not about restriction, but about understanding how the body changes and feeding it accordingly. One of the most overlooked dangers in nutrition as we age is not eating the wrong food, but eating the same food the same way every single day, because the human body was never designed for dietary monotony. And after 50, that lack of variety quietly reshapes the gut, the immune system, and metabolism in ways that can accelerate aging from the inside out. Eggs are a perfect example of this paradox because while they are undeniably nutrient-dense, relying on them too heavily creates a false sense of security, where the diet looks clean and protein-rich on the surface but slowly narrows the range of micronutrients, fatty acids, and bioactive compounds the body needs to stay resilient. Scientific research on the gut microbiome has revealed a shocking truth. Microbial diversity is one of the strongest predictors of longevity, and dietary diversity is one of the fastest ways to lose it. Studies show that when the same foods are eaten repeatedly, especially as primary protein sources, beneficial bacterial populations decline, while less favorable strains dominate, leading to increased gut permeability, chronic inflammation, and immune dysregulation, all of which are strongly linked to cardiovascular disease, diabetes, arthritis, and neurodegeneration in older adults. This means that even a healthy habit, when repeated without variation, can slowly erode the very systems it was meant to support. Over-reliance on eggs can also crowd out other critical protein sources that provide nutrients eggs lack, such as omega-3 fatty acids from fish, collagen-supporting amino acids from bone-based proteins, and polyphenols from plant-based sources, creating subtle deficiencies that accumulate silently over time. The aging body becomes less efficient at synthesizing and recycling nutrients, so missing even small amounts on a daily basis compounds into meaningful losses over years, affecting skin integrity, joint lubrication, cognitive resilience, and immune defense. Research consistently shows that protein variety improves amino acid balance and muscle protein synthesis, yet many seniors unknowingly limit themselves to the same breakfast routine out of convenience, appetite changes, or fear of making wrong choices. This becomes especially dangerous when eggs are paired with refined carbohydrates like white toast or processed breakfast foods, because while eggs themselves do not spike blood sugar, The combination creates exaggerated insulin responses that promote fat storage and metabolic stress. Studies have found that repeated post-meal glucose spikes, even in people without diabetes, accelerate vascular aging and increase the risk of cognitive decline. And nearly half of adults over 60 already have some degree of insulin resistance, often without symptoms. Over time, this metabolic strain reduces the body's ability to use protein efficiently, meaning that even adequate intake fails to protect against muscle loss, weakness, and fatigue. What makes this cycle so damaging is that it feels normal. Energy dips, stiffness, and slower recovery are often accepted as unavoidable aging, when in reality they are partially driven by dietary patterns that no longer match the body's changing physiology. The immune system also suffers from lack of dietary rotation, because repeated exposure to the same proteins increases the risk of developing sensitivities or low-grade immune reactions, which manifest as bloating, joint pain, skin issues, or brain fog rather than classic allergies. Research on immune tolerance shows that diversity in protein sources helps maintain immune balance, while monotony increases inflammatory signaling, especially in older adults whose immune systems are already less adaptable. Eggs consumed occasionally can be profoundly beneficial, but eggs consumed constantly without rotation can quietly contribute to systemic inflammation, not because they are harmful, but because the body thrives on variation. This is compounded by the fact that many seniors eat less overall, making every meal disproportionately important, and when those meals lack diversity, the margin for nutritional error shrinks dramatically. Studies on longevity consistently show that long-lived populations do not rely heavily on a single food, even when that food is nutritious. Instead, they rotate proteins, emphasize plant diversity, and avoid refined carbohydrates that disrupt metabolic balance. The modern habit of repetitive, convenience-based eating clashes with this biological reality, and eggs often become a daily default rather than a strategic choice. The emotional weight of this truth lies in how preventable it is, because balance does not require restriction or complicated diets, only awareness. Rotating eggs with fish, legumes, fermented foods, and lean meats exposes the gut to a wider array of nutrients and signals, strengthening digestion, immunity, and metabolic flexibility. Pairing eggs with fiber-rich vegetables instead of refined grains reduces insulin demand, stabilizes energy, and improves cholesterol metabolism, transforming the same food into a completely different metabolic experience. Research shows that fiber intake is one of the strongest dietary predictors of reduced mortality, yet many egg-based meals contain virtually none, creating a hidden imbalance that stresses blood sugar control and gut health. The body after 50 is less tolerant of these imbalances, and what once caused minimal disruption now accelerates decline. What's most unsettling is that none of this happens overnight. It unfolds quietly, meal by meal, habit by habit, until the cumulative effect appears as chronic disease or loss of function years later. But the opposite is also true. Small changes in variety and pairing can shift the trajectory toward resilience and longevity. Eggs used intentionally, rather than habitually, become a powerful part of a broader nutritional strategy instead of a limiting factor. The science is clear that aging well is not about eliminating foods, but about restoring diversity, balance, and metabolic harmony, and when seniors understand this, food transforms from a source of anxiety into a tool for control. The final truth is simple but profound. It's not the egg that determines your health outcome. It's whether that egg is part of a varied, fiber-rich, metabolically balanced diet or a repetitive routine that slowly narrows your nutritional world. And in that difference lies the line between quiet decline and sustained vitality.